Hey everybody, welcome to Plant Powered. I'm Chef Ryan Jennings of Sweet Pea Plant-Based Kitchen, and today we are going to prepare some of my favorite things to have for lunch. Early on when we were developing all the recipes for sweet pea, we were mostly focused on entrees, things that people could eat at both lunch or dinner, but they tended to eat them at dinner. So pretty early on we had a lot of requests for things that folks could eat for lunch, something that you could slap between a couple of pieces of bread and have a quick sandwich with. And I'm going to show you two of my favorite preparations for those dishes. The first one is going to be our version of egg salad, this one using tofu. And the second, we're going to use chickpeas to do something that might be close to something you'd prepare with chicken. All these things are high in protein and will definitely give you a boost in the middle of your day and get you to dinner. So to begin, we'll start with the tofu. So this is an extra firm block of tofu. We took it out of the package and just pressed it lightly to help release some of the liquid that was in there. And we're just going to dice it up for the salad. Do that, we'll grab a bowl. Okay, so for this, we want it to be pretty fine. So what I'm going to do is first cut it in half this way, flip them both this side, and then cut them into about a 1/4 inch dice. One nice thing about working with tofu is it does cut quite cleanly and neatly. Okay. Again, about a 1/4 inch this way. Both sides. Perfect. Okay, and then we'll go through this way, get a nice dice. Always helps, even when you're working with something soft like tofu, to have a nice sharp knife. I love to use mine from Glestain, which you can buy online from their website and also from Corinne.com here in New York City. And then we'll just bring this to our bowl here. These big knives also work well as a bench scraper. Good. Okay. So keep clean in between our tasks here. So then we'll just prepare the garnish for this a little bit. So we're going to use just a little bit of celery and onion, very simple, but they provide a real nice crunch for the salad. I'm also going to get some of these tender leaves here out of the middle. You want to use the nice pale green or yellow ones. The dark ones are bitter and should be just added to the compost, but they're a nice sort of herbaceous form of celery and also helpful when you're trying not to waste things. We don't want to waste anything here. So we're going to just cut these into a small dice. So we'll start by just cutting these in half so they're a little bit more manageable. And then just cutting them thinly like this. And repeating that with all of them, completing one task before we move on to the next. 3 will be enough for this amount. Great, okay. So then we're just going to come through and finish our dicing. Again, if you wanted to and preferred not to practice your knife skills, you could do this right in a food processor if you wanted, but I think it's a little bit better if you do it that way. And then we're just going to cut up the leaves here. I like to leave them, just roughly chopped. I think it's nice. You want to make sure that you're, tasting each bite. Good. Okay. Now we're also going to use a little bit of onion. So here, just removing both ends so it sits flat, cutting through the top, peeling off these outsides, saving them for stock. Mentioned this in other episodes, but I like to just keep a nice bag in the freezer, a Ziploc bag, and we'll just put all of those right in there. And when the bag's full, you just throw it on the stove with a little bit of water, sweat them until they're tender, cover them up, and then with more water, simmer with some aromatics, some herbs, maybe a bay leaf for about an hour and a half, and then you got vegetable stock. And it really costs you nothing because most of this stuff would have ended up in the garbage of compost anyway. And it's going to taste so much better than anything you buy at the store, trust me. So we're going to dice our onion nice and fine, like that, and then come through again this way, just as fine as we can. That looks like just about enough. Don't want to have too much in there. You don't want it to overpower the rest of the salad. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. So now I want to add some herbs to this. Brings a nice sort of bright freshness to something that once we make our cashew mayonnaise for this is going to become a little bit rich. So the herbs will help cut through that a little bit. I've got some fresh dill here, which I think is criminally underused herb. You get a whole big bunch of it at the store for $2, and you know, you can use these stems as long as they're tender to eat. You can go ahead and use them. They add a nice sort of vegetal crunch to it, and we're just gonna finely chop this. Perfect. We'll add that to our bowl here. Okay. Then we've also got some fresh parsley. Again, as long as the stems are sort of tender, they're great to use for this. If they're not, they're perfect to use in a stock, so you can just save those and put them on the side. You'll notice here that I talk a lot about stock. It really is the foundation of many of the meals that we prepare at Sweet Pea and many of the meals that I'll be preparing on this show. I think this might be one of the only episodes where you don't see something that includes some stock. And we do that for a few different reasons. One, since we don't use any oil, it's a great conduit for heat for when you're sauteing vegetables or starting a stew or soup. And if you are making a stew or soup, excuse me, it really is just packed full of flavor, and it's going to taste so much better than if you just put water in there. All right, so we've got a little bit of parsley, a little bit of dill, celery, onions, and then tofu. I think I'll actually add, we have some nice scallions here too. I'll throw one or two in there as well, and we can use the greens and the white parts here. I'll save those two parts and put them in the stock, and then these here we'll also just slice thinly. Perfect. Okay. All right. All right, so this is the beginning of the salad. We can just set this aside for a minute while we make our cashew mayonnaise to bind it all up. So we're gonna break out our handy dandy VitaPrep blender here. That's going to help pulverize the cashews and turn them into something nice and creamy that will help bind up our salad here and give it that traditional creamy feel of an egg salad. So we'll start with some cashews, which I put somewhere else. Great. So we'll start with some cashews. These are raw cashews. I wouldn't toast them for this. Again, we're using them for creaminess and for texture, not for that roasted cashew flavor. out here. All right, then we've got some Dijon mustard. Put a little extra in, I like mustard. Fun fact, making mustard is about the easiest thing that you could possibly do. Maybe I'll show it to you, or maybe I won't, because it's just so simple. It would just take up time and you'd be like, why is this guy showing me something so easy? All you have to do is take whole mustard seeds, throw a little wine in there, some onions, whatever you want to flavor it, cover it with water, and let it sit out at room temperature for 3 days. Those seeds are going to ferment a little bit, and then you just throw them in the blender and you've got your own mustard. You can play with the flavors if you want to add maple syrup or horseradish or anything else. The sky's the limit. But we make all of our own mustard at Sweet Pea, and it really was a revelation for me there. We're going to add a little bit of hot sauce to this, a few dashes, give it a little zip, a little splash of sherry vinegar. Going to add black pepper to this, because we like the bite for this. And then, to get that extra sort of eggy taste to it, we are going to use something called nakcham, or black salt. This is something that's traditionally used in Indian cuisine and has sort of a sulfury smell to it that's akin to eggs. And so that's what's really going to make this taste as if it were egg salad. And so a little bit goes a long way. You don't want to use too much because it is particularly salty, but it really will get you there in terms of flavor. We've also got here some nutritional yeast to add a little bit of umami flavor. And then we're also going to add some lemon. I like to use organic lemons, especially because I like to use the zest in just about everything. You know, it's wonderful in this salad here. It's wonderful if you just add some to just your mixed green salad. If you're making a vinaigrette that's got lemon in it, just add the zest more. It's just one of those things where you're making sure to use everything, which is great. But all of the oils that are in the skin of the lemon hold so much flavor. So it's really important not to waste it. And we used our nice microplane there to help get it off quickly and easily. We'll discard the seeds and just add some of the juice as well. I like to add a fair amount of vinegar because that tofu does need a little help to taste good. You know, it's a great vessel for flavor, but it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor all on its own. Okay, so now we're just going to add just a little bit of water and throw it on the Vitamix and puree it up. And next thing you know, we'll have a little bit of cashew mayonnaise, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So we just finished pureeing our cashew mayonnaise here. And the one ingredient that we didn't add before was turmeric, and that gives you the nice yellow color that mimics the egg yolk thing. So we've got our tofu here that has all the other fresh crunchy stuff in here. So onions, celery leaves, dill, parsley, a little bit of scallion. I mean, that looks good on its own. I think we could just have it like that, but I guarantee it'll get a little better once we add this in there. So we're just going to add in our puree here and then just fold it in. And there we have it. This is great as a sandwich, great just over a bed of lettuce, as I think we'll probably serve it today. It holds well in the fridge for about 5 days, which will be a little bit longer than your egg salad. And yeah, I think it's great for any lunch, and if you make a little batch at the beginning of the week, you'll be all set for Monday through Friday. So I'll set this aside for now while we start to prepare our chickpea salad. Great, so we are going to make our chickpea salad. This is one of our most popular lunch items at Sweet Pea Plant-Based Kitchen, and I'll show you how we prepare it today. So here we just have some cooked chickpeas. We like to cook ours from dry, but you could absolutely just use ones out of the can. You just want to make sure you rinse them to get that liquid off and wash off some of the extra sodium. If you want to cook them on your own, like nothing could be simpler. Cover the chickpeas with water and let them sit out overnight. The next morning, drain that water off, cover them with fresh water, and simmer them until tender. That's if you just want plain old chickpeas. If you want to flavor them, you could do it however you like. You could use some of that veg stock that you made, that you have hanging around, throw in some aromatics like carrots and onions and celery. Rosemary always goes wonderfully with beans, but that's for another show. Today we just have our cooked chickpeas, and we're just going to put them in the food processor just to pulse them up a little bit. Perfect. Now we don't want a puree, we still want plenty of texture in here, but we are just going to take those out and put them in our bowl. Yeah, that's perfect. You want some bigger chunks, some smaller chunks, and as we mix this around with the dressing that we're gonna make for it, it will get nice and creamy. Okay, perfect. So we'll set that to the side. We will, again, with this one, use some onion, some celery, and we're also gonna use some fennel. I love fennel. I could just eat this whole thing just by itself. But it's one of those things that you're not really expecting to be in something, especially raw like this. So when you include it, it's just a welcome surprise, I've always found. We'll start with the fennel. We've just cut this in half already. We're just gonna take that piece off. Fennel is wonderful in vegetable broth. And we're just gonna get kind of a fine dice here. Yeah. Very important to have a sharp knife for this. It's a very fibrous sort of vegetable here. Perfect, and we'll add that in. Save this for something else. We'll trim up our celery here. And for this one, I'm just gonna slice it thinly. So we have even more texture there. Than we did for our egg salad. And we'll do the same with the onion just to change it up. So for this, we'll just put a slice into it so it goes about halfway through, and then we'll just come back this way. That looks like just about enough. So if you like raw onion, just put it in there like that. If maybe you don't so much, but you still want that texture and you want to try it in this recipe, just put this in a bowl of cold water, let it set for about 15 minutes, and just rinse it off under a colander, and it'll remove a lot of that extra sort of raw onion punch that perhaps you don't enjoy. And this really is about personal taste, you know, like all these recipes can be tweaked a little bit for your taste. If you don't like fennel, don't put it in there. Put something else in there. You know, the farmers markets are going to be bustling this time of year. Kohlrabi would be great in this. Radish would be great in this. Carrots, anything to just give it that extra bit of crunch. So now we're just going to prepare the dressing for the chickpea salad. And some of these things are going to kind of mimic the other ones with the egg salad. But this one will be a little bit more like a vinaigrette and less like a mayonnaise. So we've got some more Dijon mustard that we'll put in there. We are going to use some vinegar. You could use whatever you like, red wine vinegar. This happens to be sherry vinegar, which I prefer in certain instances. But white wine vinegar, anything would be good in this. Just don't use distilled vinegar. Please, like, don't use it in anything except to clean. It just is disgusting. Just use a touch of hot sauce here. A little bit of zip. I'm gonna use a little bit of maple syrup for a little bit of sweetness. And then a little bit of black pepper. And then we're also going to want to add a little bit of sea salt to this. So we'll just give this a light whisk. Okay, and then here we've got just a little bit of our tahini sauce. So this is just a puree of beans that has some tahini and lemon juice in it. And we're also just gonna add a little bit of lemon here because we got an extra half. Perfect. Give this a whisk. Perfect. We got our nice sort of vinaigrette for our chickpeas, which we can just add right in there. Okay. And then we'll just mix this all together. And this is something that's definitely better, almost better like the next day. Letting this sit and marinate overnight is perfectly fine. But as you can see, it comes together so quickly. So if you're just looking to, throw together a quick Saturday lunch, this would be perfect for that. Okay. And now again, this definitely needs a little herb component. So we're gonna take some parsley and scallions to get us there. For this, I think I'd like the parsley to be a little bit finer. So I'm actually gonna remove the stems and chop it pretty fine. It's the great thing about cooking. You can say like, I want to take a big bite of parsley, or I just want it to kind of loosely flavor the dish. If you add the herbs at the beginning of cooking rather than the end of cooking, you're gonna have a completely different taste. And every day, as you're going through these recipes, you do something a little bit different and you try it. And then, you figure out what works best for you or for your guests. That one time you did something or something a little bit different at your dinner party and everybody just thought it was amazing. Just make a little mental note and try it again. But yeah, always save these stems. They're wonderful to flavor a broth. So for this, we're going to just kind of bunch them up on top of each other and start by putting them into a fine chiffonade and then finishing off by chopping it pretty finely into a mince. So first we'll go this way, cutting it nice and fine. Turning it the other way so you're cutting it every way, and then we're gonna kind of go back and forth by rocking and chopping. So I've got my thumb and my forefinger on the edge of my knife here, off the back of the board. Got my hands away from the blade. I'm going this way. And that way you're using the entire length of the blade to cut the parsley, so you're not bashing and bruising the leaves, leaving green all over your cutting board and all the taste. It's also good to get some stress out. And then you have very nicely, finely chopped parsley in 10 seconds or less. Throw that in here with our salad. There we are. Clean up. And then I think I will add some scallions to this as well, just the green parts. And add that in as well. And we'll just give this a good mix. Check the seasoning, very important. Especially when you're cooking off the cuff and not a recipe that's been scaled like ours are in a professional kitchen. Very important to taste to see if you've got it where you want it. Does it need a little more salt? Does it need a little bit more lemon? Have we added enough mustard or vinegar? It's good. So I think we need to re-season here. A little more pepper. Needs a little bit more of everything. So we'll have another little dash of hot sauce, another little dash of vinegar, another pinch of salt. We should be right there. So I'll finish mixing this thing up, and next thing you know, lunch is ready. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back everybody. We've got our salads prepared and now we're ready to go to the plate. As I mentioned earlier, both of these are so good on a sandwich. Just a little bit of tomato and lettuce and your favorite bread and you're ready to go. Today we're just gonna platter them up as if we would for a nice lunch buffet with friends, with some nice lettuces and pea shoots and a little bit of cucumber. So we're just gonna peel this one. I don't always peel cucumbers, but I do like to have a little taste of the peel because sometimes cucumber peel can be quite bitter, and I had a little bite of this one, and I think it's best that this one goes back into the earth from whence they came. And we're just gonna slice these on a nice bias here, thinly. Good. Set this aside here. Then we've got some nice lettuces here that we're just going to trim up. These have been washed nicely already. We'll remove any sort of outer leaves that have any blemishes and separate the leaves. These are little baby romaine lettuces. And then we've got some red romaine as well. We'll just remove this root end. Fun fact, you can regrow those lettuces just from those root ends by putting them in water and leaving them on your windowsill. It takes a while and you don't get that much, but if you're interested, it's worth a shot. Save these here, save the smaller ones over there. Remove any of the wilted ones. Got a nice curly, baby curly endive. We'll just separate here from the stem. Okay, great. So now we've got our salads ready, we got our lettuces ready and cucumbers, and we are ready to go to the plate. This is a perfect thing to do for a Saturday or Sunday lunch. I think it's a little bit old school in its presentation, but sometimes that's nice. I mean, this reminds me of something that maybe Julia Child would have put out on her table on a Sunday afternoon. Probably wouldn't have had tofu in it, but. So we've got our nice egg salad here, a nice chickpea salad there. We've got some beautiful lettuces that we picked up this morning. These are nice curly endive. Here we've got some beautiful baby red romaine. And see, this would be nice to have perhaps a little vinaigrette on the side, so guests could make a little salad for themselves as they like, or you can also just serve these as sort of lettuce wraps. You could also put out some of your favorite breads with this to make a whole buffet. But we'll just set it up like this for now. Some of our baby romaine. We found some nice pea shoots here, which I think go nicely here. Lovely. And then we can just fan some of our cucumbers out. Serve them alongside as well. A few for the chickpeas as well. And there we have it. A beautiful lunch for a Sunday afternoon, especially on a hot day like this. We've got our egg salad that we made with tofu and a bit of cashew mayonnaise, turned yellow with turmeric and flavored with black salt from India, giving us that nice egg taste. We've got our chickpea salad here, a nice substitution for chicken here with a nice Dijon vinaigrette and some tahini dressing, and a bunch of wonderful lettuces from the summer. I mean, you're gonna see tons of these things popping up at the summer market. You know, they are the first to come up in the spring. They stay all the way through summer into the fall as farmers continue to regrow them. So it's always nice to have something fun to do with all of these wonderful greens that you're going to see at the market this summer. I hope you enjoyed these recipes, and I hope you enjoyed your show today. Once again, I'm Ryan Jennings, and you've been watching Plant Powered here on Eat This TV. Happy cooking.